three other teams in this Final Four we got to hit before we get you out of here, boss. Okay, so you said earlier, you led off with this, really. We got to come back to it. You said you think they go into the finals. Like, I'm a Luka guy because I have to be on this here program because the other Michael just refuses to respect this man. And so I'm picking Dallas to come out of the Western Conference Final. And it might be, why are you looking at me like I'm crazy? You just said June belongs to no one. You asked a question about a team that ain't done shit.
That wasn't
how
to
they
you.
got to this point.
That wasn't to you.
Oh.
That wasn't
which
to
part?
you.
Oh,
no, when you said Michael doesn't respect Luka.
That was to Michael? Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
That was Benny Rage. I'm sorry.
This is what I love about you, Vinny.
I'm sorry.
Vinny, what I love about you, you know what I love about you is that you're a journalist and you're just not going to take one person's word for it. You're not going to take one story and say, oh, that's the truth. So that's why I ain't saying nothing. So I know that you're going to do your work. You're not going to just take Michael Smith.
He watches the
You're not
show.
going to just take Michael Smith's word for it. You're not going to take Michael Smith's word. I know, I understand. You've been doing this too long and too well.
But Vin,
to just take one side of it.
This is why I didn't give Mike. But this is why I didn't give Michael too much shit. This is why I didn't give Michael too much shit. And I'll pass to you within this, Vin, because I could talk about Michael not respecting Luka Doncic. I've never disrespected Kyrie Irving, but I was saying to Michael yesterday, I'm happy to be wrong about Kyrie Irving because the way we've talked about him in the last 4 years, on and off the court, I could not have seen his career evolving and progressing the way it has to this point. And I'm really happy for him. I'm happy to see his growth and evolution. I'm happy to see where he is on, as he described, his imperfect journey. So maybe me picking Dallas, this is why I thought you were looking at me crazy. I'm going to acknowledge there is some level of like rooting for the story. Not that Minnesota's not a good story. Rooting for the story as in Luka to break through or close out Kyrie to continue his the 180 that he's done over the last several years, if you will. But I got Dallas, man. I really like Dallas. I like what they've become defensively since the trade deadline. And I'm going with their two stars in this series, even though they don't have home court advantage.
I mean, I don't think it's impossible. Like, I do think that there is, when you have the possibility of on a given night having the two best players on the floor. I'm not saying they're the two best players in the series, but I'm saying on a given night, the two best players on the floor can be Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. And when you put those two guys together and you look at Kyrie being the perfect sidekick for a guy like Luka, Kyrie can be the perfect sidekick for a bunch of different stars. It's just weird to me that out of Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, and James Harden, Kyrie Irving landed in the best possible situation. He probably had the most to prove, and he's the guy who has the greatest chance of winning a championship, not just this year, but Dallas is built to be sustainable for the next couple of years, or as sustainable as the NBA will allow teams to be with the new aforementioned structure. So I do think there's a level of, man, Kyrie Irving, whether he's grown up or not, right? It doesn't matter whether he's grown up or not. It is the matter of how he's conducting himself and recognizing what's in front of him. Like we give way too much black and white. If he's playing well, then he's grown up. If he hasn't played well, then he's matured. He hasn't matured. Whether he has or hasn't, I think isn't necessarily germane to the conversation. I think the fact that he has been a leading veteran on this team, that guys are following, and he hasn't hijacked the team with whatever he could hijack the team with, because we know Kyrie Irving has those capabilities. He's a deep thinker and he thinks of things, and we know there's things going on in the world that if you ask him, he might tell you. You know what I mean? And I'm surprised in a way that he hasn't told us what he's thought about a bunch of different things happening in the world right now. And not saying he should or shouldn't, I'm just saying I'm surprised he hasn't. So I'm not surprised that you're saying that Dallas could emerge out of this. In large part because Minnesota just went through a grueling, emotional, taxing 7-game series against a team that they were built to beat. They aren't built to beat the Dallas Mavericks. They could just be better and do it, but they aren't built to beat them in that way. And sometimes it's really hard to come down off that high. I'll tell you this, Michael Smith. Can you picture Kyrie Irving in Boston for game 1 of the NBA Finals, walking onto the floor with a walking stick and some sage, trying to get them bad spirits out of there? boy, I would hate to see
right.
Boston right now. Like Boston already got a problem on their hands, right? This is the Peyton Pritchard versus T.J. McConnell series,
Okay.
right? They don't know who to root for in terms of who gonna have the battle for Boston's heart. You know what I mean? This is the battle of natural athleticism and two dudes who never had to work hard. You know what I mean? That Boston ain't gonna know what to do with themselves. But if they get through,
okay, wait,
you don't know what you're talking about.
I didn't know that's where you were. I didn't know that's where you were going with it. When you said Boston has a problem on their hands.
That's always
I
where
thought you were talking about the actual totality of the series, which let's go there. Because listen, maybe I need some sage. Maybe I'm on. Oh, you still want to stay there with Kyrie? Go ahead.
I'm just gonna say this. I'm gonna say this about Dallas. They may have the two best players in the series. Like, we've anointed Anthony Edwards. He's going to be there. He's going to get there. He is getting there. Maybe he's 75% there. He's not all the way there yet. Luka Doncic is a better player right now than Anthony Edwards. I don't think that's really
is he a
debatable.
Healthier player? Is he healthy?
Oh, okay. I don't know if he's not. He wasn't healthy last series. He took down the number one seed. He took. Is it debatable? Luka? You don't. Luka's better.
It's a debate. Anthony Edwards has entered the conversation.
Here's why it's debatable. We talked about it earlier. I'll make it quick, Mike. I don't want to hijack.
I'm at the doctor's office, and it's the
I don't want to hijack your commentary.
Line. He's entered that way. I don't see.
It's debatable because for as much credit as I've given Luka for his defensive effort and successes, I don't think there's any comparison on the defensive end.
Right.
So that's why I say it's debatable.
The guy's a genius offensively. He's an offensive genius. You got it. He's a genius. Right. So I'd say Luka, but then Kyrie, Vinny, you call him a sidekick, and he is in this scenario. But this is a sidekick who is also a damn good all-star player. And so he's still accomplished. Maybe this is the only time in Kyrie's career where you could say you give him the slight edge over Anthony Edwards. And then the rest of Anthony Edwards' career and Kyrie's career is just no comparison. But right now,
I ain't doing that. You on your own, JoJo. So you on your own, JoJo.
I'll be on my own. But my case for the Mavericks starts at the top. Go with good players. How many good players you got?
Oh, wait, you and me? Wait,
good players.
You with me? You picking the Mavericks too?
I'm not saying I'm picking them, but it's not outrageous to pick the Mavericks. It's not outrageous at all. They got a coaching advantage too.
Oh,
hey.
No, Jason Kidd is a hell of a coach.
We got a 7-game series.
Look, here's what I think in general, and I got Minnesota in 7, and anything can happen in the 7th game, as evidenced by what we saw on Sunday with Indy going into New York and stomping the buildings, and Minnesota going into the champ's house and taking it from them. Like, anything can happen. I will say this, especially from a coaching standpoint. People have assumed that Jason Kidd couldn't coach, right? They said he couldn't coach in Milwaukee, he couldn't coach in Dallas, he couldn't coach in Brooklyn. I see a fully mature coach now who makes adjustments, who gets guys to play for him, who gets his type of players. And despite the fact, I will also say this, do we know what the hell we're looking at when we evaluate coaches? Like, we can tell a really bad one or a really good one, but it's those guys who are really good or either not so good that we can't quite tell. And we also don't give coaches space to improve and to grow up and to evolve. We say that about players, but we don't give that to coaches. And we don't say Jason Kidd had learned from his various coaching styles and the various experiences, and that he hasn't evolved himself into being a really good basketball coach for a team that is now in its second Western Conference Finals in the last, 4 years? Was it 3 years?
3 years.
Second 3 years.
Second in 3 years.
Second in 3 years.
Yeah. So coaching. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to change the subject. Finish your point, because I was going to pivot to the East before we got you out of here. But go ahead.
No, we can pivot now. We can pivot now.
Okay.
Because Michael Holley was tripping on this Ant-Man not being better than Kyrie. He was tripping there. That's all I'm going to say. He was tripping.
Okay, we'll see. We'll revisit. I'll be here all week. Week. Hey, thank you for watching Brother from Another. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do that now. Don't forget, you can catch us 3 to 4 weekdays on PeacockTV.com and on Sirius XM Channel 85.